How's it going, everyone? I hope you're having a kick-ass week. A little while ago, a few videos back, I made a gumball head, which is essentially taking the leftover spent grains from an all-grain wash. It was the all-grain peated whiskey, mixing it with some table sugar and trying to get a little bit more out of it. In any case, that's fermented down to below zero actually, so it's good to go. It's in the still, it's ready to crank. We're going to distill it and blend it and see if we've got something worth keeping. Oh, and thanks to you guys that were chilling over in the community tab and also the Patreons for voting on it and deciding what to do. We're going to be adding a little bit of something else in there as well. Welcome to Distiller, everyone. I'm Jesse and this is the channel all about chasing the craft of home distillation and making it a legitimate hobby. So if that's what you're into, guys, if that sounds like fun, make sure you subscribe down below because I put content out every single week. So if you don't know what the gumball head is, guys, I'll put a link up top. You can check it out and see where we made it. But like I said, it is fermented out all the way down below zero. It's nice and dry. Time to go in the still. And like I said, thank you to the people chilling in the comment section on YouTube and the guys over on Patreon. We have decided that we're going to put in the feints from the all-grain peated Irish whiskey, which to be fair kind of makes sense. Thank you for the guys that suggested it, because this is the whiskey that the spent grain came from in the first place. So there's some more flavor in here. We'll see if we can get that out as well. Like I said, guys, the plan is to distill and also blend this whiskey in one video so we can see if there's something to keep. So let's get the rest of those feints into the boiler. We can get the boiler shut up and we can get ready to run. So the still over here is very nearly up to temperature now, and I just want to take a quick moment to talk about how I'm going to run things this time, because it's a little bit different than what I've done most of the time on the channel. Normally, if you've watched any of my videos, what I tend to do is make quite a large wash, 200 litres, 150 litres, something like that, and then do a bunch of stripping runs to cut that volume back down so I can fill it into the boiler and run it in one go. What that does mean is that the low wines or the stuff that's in the boiler when I actually do the spirit run is at a relatively high ABV. It's up around sort of normally somewhere between 30 and 40% is what it ends up being. Today what I'm doing is just running a straight spirit run from the get-go, 45 odd litres in the boiler right now. There is actually a little bit left over, but I'll save that for something else. And then I've added the feints in on top as well. So what this means for the run itself is that I'm going to have to run a fair bit slower than normal. So the plan is, guys, I'm still running on 4 kilowatts of power. That's two 2 kilowatt elements going full blast right up until the point where I know that the still is getting almost warm, at which point I'm going to kill one element and I'm going to turn the other element down to a little under half. I'm aiming for definitely not a stream, it's sort of continuous drips is what I'm aiming for, and I'm going to see if that gets us in the ballpark. It's getting hot pretty much all the way up to the top of the column here. Still totally cold over here, but it is time for me to turn that element off and think about turning this one down. I am actually going to run it without the blanket insulating it as well, just to try and get maybe a little bit of natural reflux happening to bump the ABV up just a smidge. Alright, we're getting first drips, but this is a little bit slow for me. I'd like it probably maybe 2-3 times that speed, I think is about where I want to run. But I'm just going to let it go for a few minutes because there is generally, on my still anyway, about a 30-second delay between an input on the controller and where the speed settles out at the offtake. But on the initial, when it first starts, the vapor's only just creeping up over through that T, down through the line arm. So it can take sort of 1 or 2 minutes just to sort of really see where we're at. And honestly, I'm not too worried about what happens over that first minute or two anyway, because it's all just going to be 4 shots or heads. No big deal. So I'm going to leave it for a minute or two, see what speed it settles out, and then we'll adjust it. Alright guys, it's been about a minute since I last talked to you, and I haven't adjusted the speed of the still at all actually. And honestly, this is probably pretty close to what I want. I'm going to let this first jar run through like this, Maybe just a smidge faster, and we'll see what we get. Alright guys, we're through the first jar, which came off at a smidge over 80%. So that's right around where I was hoping to get, right around our target ABV, and I'm happy with that. I'm going to keep these as 4 shots. I'm going to keep on running that still, and I am wondering if we're going to hit those murky tails at around about 45-50% like we did with the all grain version. Obviously with the corn in here, this is going to be a little bit different, so I'm interested to see what happens. We are 8 jars in at the moment. I did speed the still just a little bit once we're past the heads. It's already almost 11 o'clock at night, and the night's not getting any younger. I like sleep. So I did speed it up just a little. The ABV's dropped a smidge, and now into jar 8, I'm at about 62% ABV. Right now I'd say I'm still solidly in the heart, but to be honest I'm expecting tails to start just peaking in the next sort of, I don't know, 4 to 5 jars, something like that. Oh, by the way guys, this is a great time for me to do 2 things. Number 1 is to thank the Patreons. Thanks a bunch guys. If you don't know what's going on here, these are the people that contribute directly to the channel, and they're also part of Team Awesome, which helps me out deciding exactly what I should do for different recipes, the way I should handle different situations, so on and so forth. If you want to know a little bit more about Patreon and how you can sign up as well, you can check the link down in the description. But I also need to offer a specific apology to Peter. Turns out that even though he's been a Patreon for some time, I just don't like putting his name up on the screen. So sorry dude, it's nothing, I just got a bad process somewhere. If anyone else has been missing out too guys, make sure you let me know and I'll make that right. Anyway, let me run another few jars through and I'll catch up with you guys in a few minutes. We're now 14 jars in, and I'm just starting to get just a hint. Maybe it's just in my head, but I feel like I'm getting just a hint of the wet dog. What I am getting a fair amount of is the salty iodine salinity thing that I was getting from the peated Irish whiskey. If you guys haven't watched that video, I did the same for that one. It was a distillation and blending, the cuts all in one video, and I'll put a link up top for that. But anyway, I am getting some of those same flavors in this now, which is interesting. I'm also starting to get some more of that ashy peat down the bottom as well. So I think we're definitely starting to head towards the tails now. I'm right at about 56% right now, I think. To be honest, it's been a few jars since I've checked. But I'm very interested to see if those murky tails start showing up soon. And if they do, I think I might throw some of them in the fridge and see if we can't chill filter some of them to dredge up some of that peat smoke. Jar 20 just got filled up and it is hitting just under 39%. I'm also starting to get a solid amount of tailsiness coming off this. And to be honest, I've kind of got more volume out of this than I was expecting already anyway. So I think the plan is just to crank the still up, run the tails out, and I will catch you guys tomorrow for the blending. We're back guys, we're back. It's the next day and I have already gone through and taken some notes on every jar that's on the table right now, excluding the high heads, because I'll be honest guys, there was quite a little bit of heads in this one. Let's get stuck in. Jar number 5 is off the charts. I'm not going to use it at all. Jar number 6 is borderline. I have yet to decide exactly which way I'm going with this blend. And jar number 7 is a touch headsy, but I think I'll roll with that. So that's fully pretty much 1/3 of this entire run, but that doesn't surprise me a whole lot because of all those heads that I put in from the all grain peated Irish feints. Now we get to the interesting stuff. Straight off the bat, once we get out of the heads, we hit corn sweetness, grass and leather as well, those new whiskey sort of flavors, which is quite interesting. I didn't get nearly as much, if any, I think, from memory grass in the peated Irish, so I do wonder if using table sugar tends to bring that out. That would be something interesting to test later on. Number 9 is still corn and a little bit of leather, but by the time we get to 10, the leather has gone and we're turning into cream and corn. And I don't mean creamed corn, although that's similar. It is literally cream, like cow's milk cream and corn, which is, that's interesting. I like that. Number 12 has an interesting Band-Aid phenol thing going on to it, and I'm not sure if that's from the peat or whether something funny from the yeast, but either way, in this, I don't think I mind it. In a beer, I would hate it, but in this whiskey, I think it's not a bad thing. Much the same for 13 and 14, but the salt starts to show up in 14, sort of like salty corn on the cob type thing. 15 is oily, almost buttery corn and salt. By 16, we're starting to get into the salt and the iodine, and it's also actually kind of astringent, which is interesting. I don't think I'm going to use 16 or 17 because they are really astringent. It's weird. It's a mouth puckering sort of thing going on, like a tea bag that's been steeped too long, but I don't think I like that. Number 18 is back to sweet. The astringency's gone, but it is starting to get a little bit of the ash like we had in the peated Irish run. So I'm assuming that maybe that's the tails part of the feints from the last run, or the peat in the spent grain, one or the other. 19 is the same, but it's kind of a little bit more creamy, and the corn is mellowing with the ash a little bit more. It's sort of like ashy corn and cream. Same through 20, and then by 21 it's turning into dusty, a really dusty corn, almost like sticking your nose into the bag of corn feed and having a good old sniff, but that is married with the peaty, ashy ashtray char smoke sort of flavors. Now, I think it's time for me to admit that I screwed up and or got lazy last night. This is jar number 21. I decided that, as you can tell by the jar I put it in, that it wasn't worth a damn. It was tailsy and horrible. But looking back on it now, I actually think I should have done a few more jars. Actually, you know what? I've still got everything sitting in the still. And it's still hot from last night. I haven't cleaned up yet. I'm just going to fire it up and see if I can get a couple of jars of ashy goodness out of this thing. We'll see what happens. So sorry for the noise, guys, but I am glad that I left that insulated overnight. It's actually, I think maybe only 10 minutes away from getting up to speed, up to temperature. In the meantime, what I'm going to do is discount all of these jars that I'm not going to use, take them out of the way, and I have to decide whether or not I'm going to use jar number 6 or not, and I think that comes down to how long I'm going to age this for. You know what, I'm not really that excited about this. I've got no reason to get stuck into it anytime soon. I do have a fair bit of liquor in the pipeline right now that is coming along quickly for Christmas and stuff, so hey, I'll leave it in. Why not? I do need to take out 16 and 17 because those are the astringent ones. Everything else is on the table is going on in, and while I'm getting this together, I'll see if I can get another jar or two of good stuff out of the still before we really hit the tails. While I didn't run into any murky stuff this time around, I have got a little bit of crud sitting on top of about maybe a third of the jars. So what I am going to do is, even these jars taste great, there's just little stuff sitting on top. It's kind of hard to see. I'll see if I can get a shot of it for you, but I am going to filter everything before I blend it. All said and done, guys, I took 3 more jars this size off the still. 2 of them I'm going to use, 1 of them I'm going to chuck. The last one just got a little bit too funky. The first 2, not a lot of corn flavor or barley flavor. It was just pretty much straight up ashtray. It honestly wasn't that strong, especially not compared to the peated Irish run, but we are reusing stuff, so it is what it is. Time for me to get this bad boy cleaned out. It's a new one. Get some PTFE wrapped on the gasket and into jars, but I won't bore you with that. I won't show you that. What I do want to do now is have a little taste of our blend and see what it's like. So on the nose, it's definitely more grassy than the all grain version, which is interesting. I don't know if that's a corn thing. I don't think so, or a sugar thing. Could be, or maybe a fermentation thing. I don't know, but I do think that's going to drop away in time. Obviously, there's corn in this, which I can smell, which I couldn't smell in the other. And the taste reflects fairly closely what I'm smelling, except there is a fairly decent salt iodine hit that is interesting with the corn, but you know what, I actually kind of like it. I don't think I've ever had anything that's got corn and peat in it in one thing, so this is interesting to me, and I actually do quite enjoy it. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed watching along today for this distilling and blending of the gumball head. I know I had a whole lot of fun. So, like always guys, if you liked the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Leave your comments down below and let me know what you thought. If you feel like helping the channel out, have a think about where you could share this video and who else might like to see it. Keep on chasing the craft. I'll see you next time. Cheers.